Hello peeps, welcome back to Big Deck Playa with me, Matt Sparks. On today's show we are taking a look at a Paladin deck. This was contributed to Hearthstone.com by Muirhead01, and this is the Top4Paladin. So this is the deck. As you can see, it's pretty much just duplicates of everything. So there's about 15 cards and there's doubles of each. So that's pretty straightforward. There have been a lot of secret Paladin decks going around, and I've tried a couple of other ones to this, but this one I think is my favourite out of the ones that I've tried. At the beginning of a new season, like we are now, trying to rank up can be a little tricky because everyone's trying to do it all at the same time. So maybe this isn't the best reflection of how this deck does, because some of the other decks might do better at different ranks, but I can only show you what I'm dealing with at the time. We'll see how this holds up later on into the season at higher ranks, but at the moment it seems to be doing pretty well. So let's take a look at what we have in the deck. It's a little different from some of the other secret Paladin decks. They quite often will make use of the Mad Scientists. This one doesn't have any Mad Scientists. There's no Consecration, there's no True Silver Champion, for example, so it's a little different from what you might be expecting. But we start off with the secrets for this deck. We have 2 Avenge. When one of your minions dies, give a random friendly minion +3/+2. Awesome secret. Especially good when you've got multiple minions on the board, which is kind of what you want to go for, especially when you have competitive spirit as another secret. So when your turn starts, you give your minions +1/+1. So obviously, to get the most of competitive spirit, you want to play this when you've got as many minions on the board as you can. Also remember though, if you're playing against a hunter, especially face hunter, the more minions you have means the more Unleash the Hounds he gets. So bear that in mind. There's no Consecration, so you can't just get rid of them that easily. So I think Face Hunter is probably the strongest matchup against this, but then Face Hunter is a strong matchup against virtually everyone. And if you don't get perfect draw with even some of the other decks that are popular at the moment, then you'll probably end up losing to Face Hunter anyway. 2 Noble Sacrifice to help protect your minions, which is very nice. We have 2 Redemption. When one of your minions dies, return it to life with 1 health. Now, if you can, you kind of want to use this on stuff that's actually going to be useful. So, obviously, if you've got Silver Hand recruits out, probably best not to worry about playing Redemption, because it's not going to be that effective. And then finally, we have 2 Repentance. When your opponent plays a minion, reduce its health to 1. Now, this is one that you also want to make sure that you play kind of later on in the game, because it'll mean better trades for your minions, especially if you're like turn 5, you've got this and then your opponent plays like a Sludge Belcher or something to try and slow you down. That Sludge Belcher is then going to have 1 health, and it's going to be a lot easier for you to get rid of. Okay, so then we move into some of the minions. 2 Abusive Sergeants for that extra bit of damage. This kind of plays a bit like a Demon Zoo and the kind of zoo kind of decks that you see a lot of Warlocks playing. Obviously you've got slightly different because you've got all the secrets and stuff, but it's quite the kind of rush deck. We have 2 Leper Gnomes. These might be a good one for Redemption. So when they kill the Leper Gnome, obviously the Leper Gnome's death rattle goes off and they take 2 damage, and then Redemption will bring it back to life, and then it'll do another 2 damage when it dies. Early game, that might be a nice combo, but Leper Gnomes in general are pretty solid for a 1-drop. More 1-drops. Secret Keepers. You've got a lot of secrets in this deck, so whenever a secret is played, it gains +1/+1. Early game, this can be really fantastic, and if your opponents don't deal with it when they should, while it's still fairly weak, these can spiral out of control quite quickly in this deck, giving you 4 5s, maybe even 5 6s. At 2 mana, we have 2 Haunted Creepers. These can work quite nicely with the Redemption, bringing them back to life after they've died because of the death rattle. Also with the Avenge or Competitive Spirit, if they buff these up a bit, then they become much better, much better. Even if it's just a 2/3, the Haunted Creeper is then a lot more value. Although, if you've got the 2/1/1 spiders from this, it might be better to keep the competitive spirit for that. Also at 2 mana, we have 2 Knife Jugglers. This combos quite nicely with the Haunted Creepers, because obviously when the Haunted Creeper dies, it summons the 2/1/1 spiders, triggering 2 knife effects on the Juggler. Because we've got quite a lot of low-cost minions, it also combos quite nicely with that. And Knife Juggler is usually a high priority target. So again, this might be another nice target for having Redemption, because they'll probably beeline for the Knife Juggler. So if you've got Redemption, they'll kill the Knife Juggler, and then he comes back to life with 1 health and continues as normal. 2 Shielded Mini-Bots, also at 2 mana. These are fantastic cards, and normally trade 2 for 1. So, you know, you can't really complain about that. Again, another great card to have for Redemption. You kill off 2 things with it, maybe, and when it dies, obviously you can't trigger secrets on your turn, you have to have your opponent trigger them. So you kill off something while it's got its Divine Shield, then something kills it the next turn. It comes back to life with 1 health, but it gets the Divine Shield back. At 3 mana, we have 2 Divine Favor, because we are playing a lot of 1 and 2 cost creatures and spells, so you're probably going to need the Divine Favor. The only time Divine Favor doesn't really work is when you're against a Face Hunter, which is kind of another reason why it's really difficult to play against Face Hunter with this deck. Also at 3 mana, we have 2 Muster for Battle. This combos, again, very nicely with the Knife Juggler, and obviously Competitive Spirit makes this particularly nice. So if you can, play Muster for Battle and play the Competitive Spirit straight afterwards, so then the next turn all your 1/1 Silverhand recruits become 2/2 Silverhand recruits, making them trade better and do more damage to face. At 4 mana, we have a Piloted Shredder. Again, another great target for your Redemption, because you've got a 4/3. When it dies, it summons a random 2-cost minion. But if you've got Redemption out, it summons that 2-cost minion and then comes back to life as a 4/1, which means you can get another random 2-cost minion when it dies the second time. And then finally, at 6 mana, we have the Mysterious Challenger. So he's a 6/6 for 6, so he's fairly strong on his own anyway. But his battle cry is put 1 of each secret from your deck into the battlefield. Now, something you need to bear in mind. When you play this, if you have a Secret Keeper already on the board, the Secret Keeper will not get any benefit from the Mysterious Challenger bringing out secrets. The Secret Keeper will only get bigger when you play each secret individually. So if you've got 3 secrets in your hand and the Secret Keeper on the board, you can play all 3 of those secrets and your Secret Keeper will get buffed for each one of those that you play. But if you play the Mysterious Challenger, he could put 5 secrets onto the board. Your Secret Keeper will not get buffed as a result. Kind of sad, but I can understand why that would be the case, because that would be a little bit OP if that actually happened like that. But still, regardless, Mysterious Challenger at 6 mana can then really put a downer on your opponents, because if you've got 1 of each of those 5 secrets still in your deck, then that means that they're all going to get put onto the board all at the same time. So that is it. That is the top 4 Paladin. It's relatively cheap. I mean, the Mysterious Challenger, being an epic, is the most expensive card in there. Otherwise, you're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rares, most of which you probably already have. The crafting cost of this deck is 2,360 dust, which is not really that much when you come to think of it. And as I say, most of these cards you'll probably already have anyway, which kind of makes me like it even more. It's not an expensive deck to craft, and it seems to be fairly effective so far. As I say, we'll see how it does in the higher ranks later on in the season, but so far, I'm really enjoying it, and I'm going to play a whole bunch more of it. As per usual, there'll be a link in the description, which will take you to hearthstone.com, so you can go and check out this deck for yourself. If you play this deck, let me know how you get on if you make any videos using this deck. Again, feel free to link them to me and I'll be sure to check them out. If you've got any suggestions for future episodes, I will gladly take on any suggestions and test them out. Otherwise, I will see you next week for some more Big Deck Playa. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.